The town did not appear on most maps. You could drive past the turn without realizing it existed. The road bending slightly, the sign half hidden behind overgrown weeds. No lights announced it, no gas stations, no familiar sounds of life. It was the kind of place people arrived at only when they were not looking for it. The man arrived just before dusk. He had been driving for hours, the radio long dead, the silence inside the car growing heavier with every mile. When the town appeared, it felt less like a destination and more like an interruption, a pause forced upon him by something unseen. He noticed immediately how quiet it was. Not the peaceful quiet of a countryside evening, but something sharper, a silence that felt deliberate, as if the town itself had learned to remain still. The houses stood far apart, each one old, wooden, and faded into the same dull shades of gray. No curtains moved, no doors opened. The streets were empty, yet not abandoned. Everything was intact, maintained just enough to suggest someone still cared. Except for one house. It sat at the far end of the road, separated from the others by a stretch of dead grass and a crooked fence. Taller than the rest, narrower, older. The man did not know why he noticed it first. He only knew that once he did, it became impossible to look away. He parked nearby and stepped out of the car. The air felt wrong. Not cold, not warm, just unmoving, as if the atmosphere had stopped circulating years ago and never resumed. The smell of old wood and dust lingered everywhere, even outside. When he walked closer to the house, he realized something else. There were no sounds coming from it at all. No wind against the walls, no insects, no creaking wood. The house absorbed sound instead of reflecting it. He found the key taped behind a loose board on the porch, exactly where the letter had said it would be. The letter itself had been brief, no signature, no return address, just instructions and a warning that felt more like an afterthought than concern. Do not change anything. Do not stay if the house feels unfamiliar. At the time, the words meant nothing to him. The door opened without resistance. Inside, the house smelled older than it looked. Dust lay undisturbed, but the furniture remained neatly arranged. A small table by the entrance, a coat rack, a narrow staircase leading upward. The first floor felt normal, too normal. He walked through each room slowly, touching the walls, listening to his footsteps echo and then vanish. The kitchen was empty but clean. The living room held a single couch facing a blank wall, as if a television had once been there, but had been removed long ago. Upstairs, the hallway stretched farther than he expected. It wasn't long, not really, but it felt extended, like the distance changed depending on how closely he observed it. 3 doors lined the left side, 2 on the right, and at the very end, nothing, just a wall. He stood there for a moment, staring at it, waiting for some recognition to occur. None did. That night, he slept downstairs. The silence followed him into his dreams. He dreamed of walking down a hallway that never ended. Each step echoed once, then not at all. Doors appeared, vanished, reappeared in different places, and always, at the end, a wall that felt like it was watching him. He awoke before dawn. The house was still, too still. As he sat up, he realized something had changed. The air felt occupied, not crowded, just shared. He remained seated for a long time, listening for proof. His own breathing sounded distant, unfamiliar. When he finally stood, the floor did not creak beneath his weight. Upstairs, the hallway looked the same, until he reached the end. There was a door where the wall had been. Narrow,
He left the door untouched for
old.
the rest of the morning.
It did not
Instead,
look newly
he tried to
placed.
distract himself
The
with
paint
ordinary
was
things.
chipped, the handle
unpacked his
worn
bag.
smooth by
He
use.
wiped dust from
It
the kitchen
looked like
counter.
it always had
He
been
stood
there.
at the front window and watched the
He
empty
tried
street,
to remember the
waiting
wall.
for movement that never
The memory
came.
refused
The
to
town
settle.
remained silent,
He did
not
not
asleep,
open the door.
not abandoned, just
Not yet.
paused. Every now and then he felt the urge to look upstairs, toward the hallway, toward the place where the door now existed. Each time he resisted it. He told himself that noticing it too much would only make it feel more real. By afternoon, the house seemed calmer. The air moved again. The floor creaked normally. Even the silence felt less focused, less aware of him. He began to believe that the door was a trick of memory, that exhaustion and unfamiliar surroundings had created something temporary. That belief lasted until sunset. As the light outside dimmed, the house responded. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, stretching farther than the objects that cast them. The corners of rooms darkened first, as if the house preferred darkness and welcomed it early. When he finally climbed the stairs, the hallway felt narrower. Not by much, just enough to notice. The door at the end remained closed. He stood halfway down the hallway, listening. His footsteps echoed once and then vanished completely, swallowed by the walls. The sound did not travel behind him. It traveled forward. He reached the door and placed his hand on the handle. It was warm, not recently touched warm, not heated by sunlight, alive warm. He pulled his hand back immediately. That night, the house did not let him sleep. The sounds began slowly. A soft, shifting noise upstairs, followed by a pause long enough to convince him it had ended. Then another sound, the quiet scrape of wood against wood. The chair. He knew it without seeing it. The sound happened once every hour, always once, never twice in a row. When he tried to time it, the intervals changed, never repeating the same pattern. It felt intentional. Near dawn, he heard something new. Breathing. Not close, not far. Somewhere inside the walls. The next morning, exhaustion made the house feel unreal. He moved through it as if walking inside a memory instead of a place. When he reached the upstairs hallway, he noticed that the door was slightly open. He had not opened it. Inside, the room looked unchanged. Bare walls, no windows. The chair stood off-center now, angled toward the doorway. The walls were closer than he remembered. He stepped inside for the first time. The air felt heavy, thick, as if sound moved slower there. When he spoke, his voice sounded distant, unfamiliar to his own ears. The walls absorbed it immediately. There were markings now, faint impressions in the paint, uneven and shallow. They did not form words or symbols, just shapes, irregular, organic, pressed rather than drawn. Hands, not all the same size. He backed out and closed the door carefully, as if sudden movement might provoke something unseen. That afternoon, he searched the house for answers. In the attic, beneath layers of dust and forgotten items, he found a stack of old journals tied together with brittle string. The handwriting inside was neat, methodical, dated decades earlier. Each entry described the house, not as it was meant to be, but as it became. The writer mentioned measurements that no longer matched, rooms that expanded subtly over time, a hallway that grew longer each month, a space that appeared only after the writer stopped trying to deny it. One sentence repeated throughout the pages.
The house does not create, it rearranges. As night fell again, the house felt restless. The hallway changed length while he watched. The distance between doors shifted when he looked away. The end of the hallway no longer aligned with the rest of the structure. And the door was closer now. The chair scraped once, then silence, then a sound that did not belong to the house at all. A knock from inside the room.